Growing up, there was one character that was present throughout my entire childhood, and that was Mario. Mario held a place in the hearts of many people, and continues to do so to this day. However, like most characters with an unclear past, we often pondered about the backstories of these characters. I always wondered why a plumber was the chosen hero to save a princess from a dinosaur-like villain. And after playing through Yoshi's Island, another topic came to mind. And that was, who were Mario's parents? We weren't given much information about the parents at all. And honestly, the image we saw in the game simply just annoyed me more because it was such a cliffhanger. I wanted to know what Mario's mom was like, and what his dad did for a living. More so, and especially due to my own life circumstances, I became fixated on what Mario's father was like. My own father often worked long hours, and we would only get to see him half as often as our mom. Because of that, there were more mysteries surrounding him since we only got to see him in the evenings. This same feeling carried over to many other characters besides Mario, as Link was another character I thought about often. But Mario was more consistent than Link, as I quickly got the feeling that the Links I played as were different from each other. It wasn't until years later when the internet started to become populated that I could then indulge in my curiosities. And with some recent discoveries, this is what was found. Mario's father has appeared in many forms of media throughout the years, and many of these were pretty obscure. While we are treated with a depiction of what Mario's mother looked like, or at least acted like in the Super Show, we've never been given a full visual on the father. Most of the time, we are given a really odd cropped image that hid his identity. In the Super Mario Amada series, despite the characters taking on the roles within a fairy tale, we see a glimpse of Mario who is talking to his father. In this scenario, Mario is the size of a thumb in order to fit into the character's role in the story. But we do see a fatherly figure with the same mustache, who appears to be wearing a yellow shirt with blue trousers. Most of the plumber-like characters follow a similar outfit scheme, so it's pretty interesting to see that he is depicted in a similar outfit. Another depiction of this fatherly figure comes from a panel in the comic called Family Album: The Early Years, which was part of Nintendo's comic system. In this comic, we see a young Mario who is running away from his father, but unfortunately, the father's head is cropped off again. Interesting enough though, the color scheme still matches up like before as he's wearing yellow and blue. We are also able to derive that Mario's father smokes a pipe too, which Mario fixed per se. One of the final depictions we have to go off of is the picture from Yoshi's New Island, as the original picture that I thought was Mario's parents turned out to not actually be them at all, as the babies were brought to the wrong house initially. In this photo, we can see that Mario's father has a bit of a husky build, but it appears he's wearing nighttime garments instead of just normal trousers. But for the longest time, this is all we had to go off of. Many theories depict that Mario's father was actually Jumpman, or the Mario we see in the Donkey Kong arcade era. But one could argue that there are inconsistencies with Pauline and her most recent appearance with Mario and DK, whom should be the children of Jumpman and Cranky. Cranky, whom was the Donkey Kong of that time. If this was the case, shouldn't she be old? But recently, we had something show up online that was really fascinating, and something the world had mostly forgotten about. That was this 1989 tin tray that depicts a scene from the Mario universe. Looking around this room, there are some pretty interesting things, but the most interesting is in the top right corner, which is the portrait of a man. But not just any man. A man who could very well be Mario's father. Blue and yellow shirt? Check. Smoking a pipe? Double check. Looks like Mario? Triple check. Judging by this picture, could this be Mario's father? And if it is this Jumpman in his senior years? We know Jumpman was a carpenter by nature, and that the Mario of today is a plumber, so by this knowledge, it might be possible that they are indeed two different people. If we rule Pauline out for now, or assume this was Pauline's daughter who goes by the same name, then this timeline could add up. However, despite this gentle stare we get from this figure in this painting, the past of this Mario might be a grim one, as this Mario has shown up before, and unfortunately in the form of what appears to be animal cruelty. I mean, that is pretty much the same outfit. Obviously, this could take us down a completely different path, as those of you who have watched the Game Theorist video on this topic may be remembering, but I want to propose something different. So, hear me out on this. What if the Mario we see here in Donkey Kong Jr. isn't Jumpman from Donkey Kong, and is actually the father of this Jumpman Mario? That would put us at 3 Marios in total: the grandfather, the father, and the son. Now, some could simply argue that this could be Luigi as well, given that Luigi also wore this outfit once in that era, which is completely valid. but due to the photo from before, it's apparent this outfit has existed through the generations. Luigi has also gone through tons of outfit changes throughout the series, so it may also be possible that he adopted his grandfather's colors before finding and settling on a new identity. With that said, in Donkey Kong Jr., we see two Marios pulling up Donkey Kong originally, and while someone may argue that perhaps this is just Luigi wearing similar garments, or just a Mario clone for the sake of having the manpower to pull up a giant ape, I think it might be neither. If this was the case, both of these figures could not be the Mario of today due to how much aging has happened to Cranky Kong and Donkey Kong. However, if this was a middle-aged man per se, whom still had his hair color, and his 20-year-old son, then this puts an interesting twist on things, as their build and physique would be similar, thus their low-quality 8-bit rendering may look the same, because now this friendly figure we see in the painting is the real culprit. This also makes sense, because truthfully, I don't know many people who have a portrait of their father in their living room. Again, that may sound odd, but normally when I think of old portraits of people that are placed by themselves on a wall, it is of their grandfathers, or great-great-grandfathers, or grandmothers respectfully. There's usually a sense of history with the portrait, like, my great-grandfather fought in the Civil War, or old Pappy was a great sailor. And this is the feeling I get from this portrait. It has a sense of history to it despite being a quirky drawing. But I'm sure by now you're all saying, Swanky, you promised us a bloody history. Well, that falls into the occupation of this grandfather Mario. While Mario was a plumber and Jumpman was a carpenter, this era of Mario was a barber. I derived this reasoning from the barber's pole that is next to the painting. That barber's pole is out of place, as it would normally be outside of a building to signify whether the barber was in practice or not. There's really only one reason why it would be inside a living room, and that's because it is a memento of the past. It was placed next to this painting because it belonged to the barbershop that our old Mario friend opened either before or after the events of Donkey Kong Jr. Back in the day, barbers did a lot more than just cutting hair. You see, the barber's pole, which is what this thing is called, signified that these people performed surgeries and bloodletting as well, which is essentially cutting someone and draining their blood to prevent illnesses. On top of this, leeches were often applied as well to help in this process. While this was a medieval practice, this is what the barber poles of today are modeled after. But the thing is, the Mario universe takes place in a hodgepodge of overlapping eras. The world that has futuristic cities also has medieval castles and practices. So this symbol could still very well abide by its original meaning. And if we take that into consideration, and it is indeed associated with this third Mario, then this grandfather has performed a lot of really weird medical procedures in his day. And my childhood is forever changed. But now that I've dumped that on all of you, I'd of course love to hear your thoughts. Now obviously a lot of this is stringing together instances that are completely up to interpretation, but it is still a lot of fun to speculate. With that said, who do you think Mario's grandfather was? Or even his parents? Do you think it's far-fetched to assume their family occupation went from being a barber, to a carpenter, to eventually a plumber through the generations? And last, what other characters' parents do you often ponder about? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, or share them with me on Twitter. I want to give a huge shout out to Gaming Reinvented for helping me with this video. Truthfully, I was unaware of some of the depictions of Mario's parents from long ago, especially the Super Mario Mata series. I had no idea that was even a thing. Because of that, I was able to pull all the pieces of the puzzle together to help paint a holistic view about the times that Mario's father was referenced. Also, Gaming Reinvented has helped me out in the past with my Luigi's Mansion video, so if you have the time, I would definitely give their website a gander. You can find a link in the description below. And with that, thanks for tuning in to this lesson on family history. If you'd like to join me on my YouTube voyage and help me figure out the hidden lore of the Mushroom World, then the subscribe button is just what you're looking for. Thanks for watching, guys and gals, and until my next video, cheers. You've made it to the end of the video, but wait, your quest isn't over yet. If you're looking for some more Mario-centric theories, why not check out my video about Egad and his questionable axe? If that doesn't tickle your fancy, you can always check out my video about Mario and Link switching games. In that video, I drop each character into the opposite world and analyze how they would fare. As always, there's a slew of other videos on my channel too, so regardless, I hope you enjoy.